Hey guys, welcome to today's episode on the Lightbearer Show. My name is Deji, fondly called PD, like on my shirt, yes. Welcome to today's show, and today we are going to be having a very interesting guest on today's show, and I cannot wait for you guys to have him, to listen to him and hear his story and listen to how God has brought him from where he used to be to how he is now and how he's shining the light in different areas of the world. Stay tuned, call your friends to join as we go live in a minute. God bless you. Welcome guys, and today we have a very interesting person on the show today named COD. I know some of you be thinking COD the musician, but trust me, this is not COD the musician. From his Instagram page, COD is a real estate developer, global luxury property broker, and he's had over 60 luxury home tours, like around the world, not only in Ghana, around the world. He's a keynote speaker. He speaks everywhere, speaks to students, speaks to people everywhere, people who want to go into what he's actually doing. And he's a certified international property specialist. Guys, on the show today, we have COD, my brother. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm excited to be here. How are you doing?
I'm very well. I'm elated. Happy to see you here.
When you called me for this interview, I was like, hey, what do I expect?
I know that it's not easy because, I've been trying to follow up all along because I know how busy you are and all of that, yes. But, thank you for coming to join us today. It's so interesting. God bless you. And yeah, so quickly, like I said, COD. Yeah. People think that COD is like the musician, the Ghanaian musician COD. Yeah. How did your own COD come up? Was it like because you liked the guy and you decided to?
So COD, as for COD is my name and my brand. Where the issue is Kwesi Oting. So there's a musician called Kwesi Oting, which is actually my COD. The CO is Kwesi Oting. Yeah. You know, but I used to be on radio. So I was on the same EIB network. They had KOD at Star FM. And at the time I was at Life FM. So I just decided that because there's already KOD and my Kwesi is a K, originally is a K. But I just had to change to C so that I could just flow in there. So I had a COD, and then today is a household name. Wow. When it comes to real estate. So like
when you were growing up, did you have an idea that, okay, my name is going to be like a brand name, or it's going to be like an household name, or I'm going to be this big or sought after?
Where some of us come from, you don't even have to dream that far. But that's where God comes into it. You know, earlier we had a conversation before we got into this official recording. I was telling you that sometimes when God steps into the story, he does it so men will know it's him.
That's right.
And it even overwhelms the person he's doing it for. Yeah. And that's what he has done to me, because I dreamt of like having a family, some 2-bedroom house, some 1 car.
That's like
everybody's typical dream. But God is every single day of my life blowing my mind. And I'm just, so when I wake up, I'm like, Abba, what's happening today? Take me on a ride, you know. So I didn't dream it, but that's what God gave to me.
So interesting, guys. COD is huge now. So can you give us like a brief background of how like you?
Okay, so I grew up from a very good family. I always say I grew up from a very good family. My dad was like an MD of one of the biggest. What do we call them? It's like importers of meat and all that in Ghana. They used to be a subsidiary under Volta River Authority, VRE. So I grew up in Akuse. And so that Akusomo stretch is where I grew up. I have a brother, so we're just 2. But along the line, things happened and things changed. My dad lost his job, so we had to move from there and go into Manya Krobo. So Manya Krobo is Pons, so many those areas where they speak the Ghana Dangbe.
So you can speak Ghana?
I can speak Dangbe, not Ghana. Because I got 1. When I wrote my JSS BEC examination, can you imagine? Out of English, math, social studies, everything, Dangbe is where I got 1. Like me, I can. How do I get 1 in Dangbe? But it tells you how much I actually grew up in the area. I didn't like it initially because where we were living is called Inuasu Newtown. Inuasu means on the trees.
Okay.
Like in tree is like Inuasu. So I felt like, hey, are we going to live on trees? I remember when I asked my mom, hey, are we going to live on trees? We're living in a 4-bedroom house, had to move into like a chamber and hall. Washroom is outside. You know, that typical, when you used to have your washroom in the room.
Yeah.
But things happened, and that's where everything changed. For me, I am getting to understand why God had to let me go through that process now. But when I was in the process, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. I couldn't pay school fees. Mom wasn't working. Mom was hopping from loan to loan. I said on another podcast that one time I was having an extra classes, and then my brother runs to me and says, Mom has been arrested. Hey. And I'm like, why? And they said she couldn't pay for her loan. And so they took her to court. And funny enough, the judge at the time, my dad actually paid for his fees when he had the money. Yeah, so the judge just said, Auntie Naomi, oh yeah, then mommy, the money don't feel line. Like, just take her out of the line. And that's it. I really wanted to go to the best of schools like Pojos, Presec, Marimamba, Koforidua Sectec, Prempre, Opokuwari. But can you imagine that I chose all the schools? I don't know if my mom went to have a conversation with the wire guys or what, or God was just doing it. It's funny, like, straight away, I got Manya Krobo Senior High. So that's like a walking distance from my house. And I hated the school with passion, but again, it birthed out who the other side of COD, like the very outspoken, confident COD, because I was in the general science class, but I was doing everything general art. I started a club in my school called Media and Journalism Club. I had Anas Amaria Anas come to my school. Before I left, I had built a mini.
So he came with
the marks, everything. He hosted 6 schools. It was Manya Krobo Notre Dame Senior High School, some schools in Sunyani. There's one school in the Volta region, and we came together. The Media Journalism. He trained us. It all started with me, and that's one thing I've always tried to do: to leave a mark in every place, regardless of my background. I don't let that put my back on the ground. Like, I always talk to myself. And that's what the youth of today needs to learn how to do. That we need to understand that this generation, sorry to say, there are lots of sad people with happy pictures, like good-looking pictures on social media. Nobody comes to social media to post their pain.
Yeah, that's true.
They post, and even in the picture, they edit it with other apps to make sure the curves are looking, the beard is well-shaped. But when you meet some of them, you're like, are you the same guy on Instagram?
Suffering.
Or same guy, you know, so don't be too hard on yourself. Understand that it's a process and it's a means to an end.
Okay.
Whatever God is doing in your life is just a process, and you're walking gradually to the perfect light. So there's always a light at the end of a tunnel.
That's right.
Which somebody will say, I've walked to the end of the tunnel and I've not seen no light. It's because you don't believe there is. That's where faith comes in.
Yes, exactly.
So it will be difficult. I went through a lot of things. From Manya Krobo, I wish I went to KNUST. That also didn't happen to me. Then I came to Accra Polytechnic.
I think KNUST is like the best university.
But like for me, I just prayed, like, God, give me computer science, KNUST, computer science. And it didn't happen.
I really
for
like
me.
KNUST. I think KNUST is really underrated in Ghana.
People will come and fight.
I think it's underrated because I've been there a couple of times.
And you'll be like, wow.
And environment-wise, like, I just think
you like the place,
like,
yeah.
yes.
So I was in love. Then I got Accra Poly. I came to Accra Poly. I said, God, why? Like, SS, you didn't give it to me. Tertiary, don't do this to me. But I just understood that it's part of the process.
Yeah.
And God knows why He plants you in every place.
That's true.
Because when you go to Accra Poly today and you say COD, you would see the marks that I left in there. I contested SRC president. I lost it, but I was even more popular than the guy who won. I was everywhere, from Christian community to SRC to anything in the school, everything. I was emceeing, I even emceed lectures,
so now this
weddings.
means that right from time you were interested in speaking.
I was you see, it's 2 things. I was a general science student. Okay. Typically, a science student should be to himself, doing your titration, your chemistry, learning serious.
Sometimes wearing glasses.
Wear your glasses, you know, going into Accra Poly, civil engineering. It has nothing to do with the MC. It had nothing to do. That's why I didn't end with the first class. I was first class level 100, level 200. Then I decided to contest for SRC. My lecturers told me, don't go. So one lecture intentionally failed me a 3 credit hour course.
Wow.
And it dropped me to 3.98, like just below first class. First class was 4.0. But yeah, I'm not that guy I'm a very daring person. Like, and when people tell me, you can't do it, you've given me a job because I need to prove you wrong. And I need to make you know that, you need to step it up, So that's who I am. When I talk more, I like to talk to the youth because I think that there's a whole misconception about growth and about humanity and about business and venturing into business, especially among the African youth. Everybody thinks that, when we see a man, when you see PD, when you see COD, you need to appreciate where we are today.
That's true.
But you need to go behind the scene to understand the process and how we got here. Because life just doesn't happen.
Now speaking about how you got here, how did this whole real estate breakthrough happen for you? How did it happen? How did it start?
So Accra Polytechnic, that's why I say I love Accra Poly.
Yeah.
Now I love. The first I didn't love them. Accra Polytechnic after school, because I was good, had a relationship with most of my lecturers, and then my dean of students, he's like, this guy, you don't have to go. You need to be here. So I was sent to the estate office for national service. I said I won't be a TA. As for TA, they forced me because I like to talk and teach. And I said TA I won't do. So they put me in the estate office. One time after being in the estate office, I had one of the biggest real estate company had their HR visitors. And then when he came, he's looking for people to employ.
Okay.
And everybody said, this guy will not go because we were 10 in that office. But I used to go to work at Life FM from 8 to 9 a.m. before I come to work, so I'm mostly late. So everybody said, this guy, we think he likes media, he doesn't like... So we all applied, we went for the interview. This was about 9 months into our national service, so we still had a few months to end national service. We went out of all the 10, they picked only me.
Oh, wow.
And it was an interesting... I used to have this punk.
Yeah, I remember these old pictures.
I went in with my
I'm sure I'm going to show some of the old pictures so that they'll see
I went in with my punk and everything. When I entered, I remember so clearly, they said, but this guy... And I don't like tacking in. So I wore my white and black. They said white and black. I didn't tack in my white. They said, get out of here. And I remember the CFO at the time saying that we've interviewed all these guys. This one, if it's grooming, like to show him how to dress well and everything, we can, but let's tap into his knowledge. And that's one thing I would entreat all employers to do. Sometimes you meet people, they might not appear
look like exactly what you want. Yeah.
When you sit with them, if it's just adding, that's why they are your employees.
That's true.
You need to add. There are people who work for me. Per my first meeting with them, I'm like, this guy. Then the Holy Spirit just whispers, give him opportunity. Then in the process, I begin to understand, okay. So it's supposed to be an exchange. I train him, he works for me. Now he feels like he owes a certain kind of loyalty to me. Yeah.
I see. Interesting. So are you trying to say that as you started all of these things that you were doing, as you went through the whole NSS thing, you knew that you were going to go into real estate? No. So when I got the job, I signed the interview, I got the job, then I started as a facility officer. So facility officer is like maintenance officer. So when the client's pipe is not is best, you go in there. When the lights are not working, you go in there, you call the maintenance team. But I was always volunteering for sales and marketing. So when they are going out for the sales and marketing campaigns, I'll tell them my weekend is free. I'll go, and it was because I was patching with a lot of people, and I didn't want to stay at home. So those of you who don't know what patching means, it means he was squatting. He didn't have a house
I was squatting.
He was squatting people, sleeping.
For my Niger people now,
he was squatting.
Now they squat from one place to another. I think the last time I counted, I squatted 10 people, 10 different locations. It could be more. Sometimes I forget the story. It's friends who even remind me do you know you slept here? Do you know you did that? Yeah, But the last time I sat down to really count, it's 10 different locations. From Banana Inn, Dansoman. I came to church. Then I went to stay with a friend called Promise, who was a drummer in my church at the time. Then I came to stay with Danny, who was also a church member. Then I moved to Chado. From Chado, I moved to Tema. It's a lot.
Wow.
But it tells you, see, now I tell you, when I sit now, I understand the journey. And I understand the process.
Why are you going through the process?
Today, if there's money touching my hand, when it touches my hand, I'm very careful on what to do with the money.
Yeah.
Because I know how I got here. So I'm very careful on certain decisions that I make. So real estate, after volunteering for sales and marketing, 9 months down the line, I realized that I can do this thing on my own.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. And I still stayed in there. So on the 11th month, almost going to my 12th month, to say I spent 1 year with them, these people came out with a list saying that the company is growing and so they're about to lay off some people. And my name was number one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My name was number one. They said, and later I understood that there's something that went on and my boss wasn't happy, but she didn't tell me and they laid me off. I'm like, okay.
So that was like a setback for you at that time.
It was a huge setback. Huge. Like, that's when I had suicidal thoughts. I felt everything was over because this job, I thought it was, you know how everybody tries to get a job and you know you're about to grow with the company 4 or 5 years. This job pays for your hospital bills. If you're married, it covers your wife and 3 kids. Wow. Yeah, so you can go for your own checkup and everything for free. You get to meet friends and then they like laid off.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I remember one message I listened to from, I think Bishop T.D. Jakes, and he one line he really said was that sometimes your setback is for your comeback.
Yes. Yeah.
Was that what happened to you?
Yeah, that's it. Because every time you're about to shoot an arrow, you have to pull it back.
Yeah.
And then the more you pull it back, the more you're able to target, and then you see the speed. So that's what happens in life.
Wow.
Before God actually sets you out and sends you to the world, he sets you back. It's a theory. You know, I tell people, don't be suicidal and don't ever think of taking your life. And don't you ever ask God too many questions. Sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
But in your painful moment, just thank God and tell God, I know this is for a perfect end, because to whom much is given, much is expected of.
Yeah.
So if you want to be, I want to be a huge man of God, I want to be a CEO of a conglomerate, I want to have a group of companies. Yeah. For God to give you that, and in the godly way, no shortcut, he needs to bake you. I don't know if people have seen real gold, but when they extract gold from the ground or from any other means of mining, you will not love gold.
Wow.
But when gold passes through the fire and is refined, that's when you love God, and that's what God does to us.
So, men looking at you like this and seeing like your videos on IG, like you said earlier on when you started at, don't let social media fool you. Nobody would actually believe that you went through like suicidal phase or depression.
Even me, honestly, I don't believe it was me. Wow. I tell my mom and I tell my brother every day that I think that at every level in my life, I'm like a butterfly. I actually like do a 360 metamorphosis, like I change. Look at my pictures. Even take your time and look at my pictures. Sometimes I don't look the same.
Yes, they are changes.
It's like my face
when you had your punk.
It's like everything changes. So I'm like, that's it. God, when he steps into it, when I was coming, I was playing Walk Into the Room by William McDowell. When God walks into the room, I think that Apostle Joshua Selma says that in our dispensation, we've lost the element of power. And that's why we don't really understand who God is. So a lot of people can play with the name Jesus. A lot of people can tear a Bible and smoke weed with it, because we as Christians have not really sacrificed the Lord to experience the power of old. But that's what we need in the coming generation. To sacrifice a lot, to kill self, and then God should give us that power. Because when God is mighty, bro, God is mighty,
I'm remembering a story. I'm remembering a story. Not like a story. I remembered something that happened to you before this whole. I mean, I know you were already like in the process of all of these things, but there was a particular thing that you did that like actually shot you, like brought you out, brought the whole real estate, brought out the whole things. Can you talk about it? Yeah.
So people need to understand that in this world, there's an element of fatherhood. Naturally, you come through a certain channel, your mom and your dad. When you come on earth, God gives you other people. People will say mentors, people will say covering. And that's one of the things that I thank God for giving me. When I was in school and I heard about Holy Hill Chapel, where I churched today, I didn't like the church because I was the prayer secretary for APCF, so it's Accra Poly Christian Fellowship. And when we do prayers, nobody will come. They say they are going to Holy Hill. I said, which church is close to the school that everybody is going there? We are organizing prayer here, men of God on fire. They won't come. They say some man of God is behind there. I said, which man of God is this one? So me, I never liked Holy Hill.
Because they were pulling your people
Because they were
away.
pulling all the people to come to the, and then some pastor will come and do evangelism and everybody is gone.
Wow.
So in my final year, we had the man of God visit the school.
Yeah.
And on that day, I led worship.
Yeah, I think I was in that program.
You
I was there. I remember.
I was a cameraman.
You were everywhere. I remember.
That's who I am. It's because where I'm coming from and the pain I've gone through, I just want to succeed. So people need to understand this. See, it's not about the physical steps you take towards success. It's about the programming of the mind. That's where a lot of people are getting it wrong. It needs to start from here. You need to see yourself and this podcast global before the podcast goes global.
That's true.
You don't need to have global people sitting on the podcast before you know it's global.
Yeah.
So if you can even tell, till I started saying the stories, a lot of people didn't believe because even in my pain, I still looked happy. I was still in the choir. I was still doing all the MC. I was still sitting on TV.
COD was singing.
I was still sitting on radio. And I never for once said my pain. I cry at night, wipe it, and I'm on. Because I have programmed this mind that you cannot fail. So my body has been adjusted to the mind is so powerful. And you need to have that mindset whilst you walk every single day.
So like, how did you get in contact with Holy Hill and like how did that?
So after the program, I was invited to sing here for youth service, Holy Hill Chapel. They invited me on Monday, which is a youth service. I came, I had a group at the time. So it's the same logo I use for my business. So we were in a black t-shirt with a logo on it. It's the same business logo. I don't know if you find the pictures, but if you go on my Facebook, the pictures are there. And then we came to sing. And then Bishop said we should, so Bishop is Reverend Dr. Kojobo Bempa, for those of you who don't know, invited us to sing on Tuesday, which is the big church. And I'm like, hey, what is this man singing that? So from there it started, and when I kept coming and the word kept growing in me, my confidence level like skyrocketed like from 0 to 100. Yeah, because this man of God speaks so much about faith and teaches you like the real authentic messages. And I said, this is my house. And I'll tell you a story. Even when I was in Holy Hill, about 3 years or 4 years in Holy Hill, I wanted to leave. To be honest, I wanted to leave. And one day I had a dream. And I saw lots of oil and gold flowing from the altar. And God told me, you are connected here. Even if somebody carries you away, bring yourself back and sit down. And I have stayed connected. Yeah, it came to a time, there was a time like almost 6 months I wasn't coming for service and all that. But God gave me that dream and then forever. So I want to tell everybody, you need to have a covering. And my covering, so my national service salary, the last one, or no, the first one at the time was almost equivalent to $100. And I changed it. This is the guy who was patching somebody. You've got national service. You can go and buy some 5 kg rice and oil.
I sort yourself out.
I came to my man of God and I said, I have a seed, because he had told us about seed sowing and everything. And I dropped my seed. Remember, that's the first time I dropped the dollar seed. And again, because I wanted to see dollars in my life, I dropped the dollar seed. You can't reap what you haven't sown. That's the principle of the world. Garbage in, garbage out. Dollar in, dollar out. You know? So I sowed the seed, and he told me at the time he sees buildings behind me.
I actually remember that.
You
I
remember?
was there. I was at the
but
back.
Do you
I was
know
standing.
at that time? So this is a backward story, because at that time it's the beginning of national service, not the beginning of real estate.
Wow.
When he saw buildings behind me, I was now about to start national service. I didn't know nothing about real estate, or me, it was media, TV, radio, where your suits go, action, camera, 1, 2, 3. That was what I was dreaming for. Yeah.
So after you sowed the seed,
After I
and the
sowed
man
the
of God
seed,
said,
he said, I see buildings behind you. And this is the story today. And we've just been there. Every time I feel down, I just go in there with a seed. I don't know if I can preach this message here, but people need to understand, God doesn't need your seed to do the miracle. He doesn't need your seed to do what he wants to do.
Okay.
But we are in a world where there's a realm. So there's a physical realm.
Yeah.
Sometimes God has already released the blessing you're looking for. But you that you're saying you're ready are not necessarily really ready, because that blessing can kill you. That blessing can harm you. Imagine giving $1 million to a child. What would he use it for?
Finish himself.
He'll finish.
That's like his burial sentence.
So sometimes these seeds are just to tell God you deny yourself of that.
Yes.
So
that's
if I'm
sacrifice.
giving this phone, I'm sacrificing so that this phone is not another God to me.
Okay.
That's my reason why I like to sow a lot of seeds. Yeah. So God, this money will not be the reason why I would be.
And this will be my level
and
forever.
this will not be my level. So you sow it in for God to do it. But if you don't want to sow, today is Christianity. Everybody has a theory and everything.
Yes.
But tithing, seed sowing is part of the life. Do you sweat to make your money? Then sweat is blood. So it can be equated to the olden days where people were actually slaughtering sheep to do sacrifice. So you need to sacrifice something. Wow. Let nobody lie to you. The people on the other side, they are doing sacrifices every day. Wow. People go to the club, spend $30,000, $20,000, and nobody talks.
And they remember giving to God.
But if you give to God,
people are shouting everywhere. Can you imagine?
Don't give to your pastor. I don't give my
exactly,
money to my pastor.
Exactly.
My money, now your money.
Of course, your money is not missing. Yes.
Exactly, your money is not missing. So, but that's where we are today. So that's one thing that I can say started the whole fire. Yeah, God started connecting me to different people, and that's where we are today. Wow. Yeah.
Guys, I know you are enjoying the whole convo. I'm really surprised about certain things that he has said, but we want to go on a quick break, and we will be back. Stay right there. Welcome back, and honestly, if you are just joining, I think that you are missing. Like, you have to take the video back from the start and listen to everything that COD has actually said. And I mean, it's really interesting listening to everything he's saying, listening to like how God has brought him, the things he's going to. I mean, even listening to the fact that he had suicidal thoughts and he was depressed. I mean, that was huge. But thank God. So welcome back. And so you mentioned about the fact that when you were talking earlier, you mentioned about your convos with your workers and all of that. So most people don't even know that you are active in church.
Yeah.
Like you do stuff in church. Most people don't really know. Can you talk about why you do that and all of that?
So just like I mentioned earlier, you need to have a covering. Yeah. And just the same way you serve your mom and dad, you need to serve your Heavenly Father who brought you and guides you through. So in any way, any talent you have, any giftings you have, and there are a lot of people who give an excuse of, I don't know my talent, I don't know my gift, but you have something that comes to you easy. It's like me. If I'm sleeping, you wake me up and you put a camera on me, I know what to say for the next 3 hours.
So if we leave you with this camera, you can
talk. I can talk for 3 hours. I can have a conversation. Like when I drive and people see me in traffic, I'm sure sometimes they think I'm mad. I talk to myself a lot. I just love to talk to myself. I just love to hear myself talk. So you need to find some. God has given you beauty. You can serve in the ushering team. The protocol for your first lady.
So basically, you're saying that
use anything you have.
So you're trying to say that your service in church actually helps you to hone your skills and
It's not actually. It's definite. Wow. Without the service in where you find your place, it's like your house. The church is like your home, your second home.
That's true.
You spend your Sunday there. That's where you invite your friends and family to come. It's your home. Why wouldn't you want to keep your home in order? So if your voice is going to make church interesting, do you know this year I hosted a breakfast meeting in my church?
Yeah.
If I tell you the number of messages I got from me, just not even the man of God side, just me hosting, the number of people who got inspired, I was surprised. Like there are particular people.
I saw your about that was
there are particular people who texted me and I was like, wow. So this person was there. So that person too was there. And and sometimes through your service, God can actually pick you. There's one contract I had this year from a very known person. Yeah. Funny enough, that person has seen me on stage hosting an event by my church.
Wow.
On YouTube, and then he saw me physically in church. He visited the church. Wow. And so when he was giving me the contract, he even called my spiritual father to ask, this guy, can I trust him with this amount of money? And he's like, trust him.
Wow.
You know, and so sometimes your service to God, you can be an usher, you can just welcome somebody, and then the person will be like, wow, how you did, can I make this person my executive assistant? So you need to find a way to serve God. And with my workers, there's no way I can tell, like I told you, my whole life is decorated by God and testimonies. There's no way I'll have a conversation with my workers without sharing my testimonies. And this is not my first podcast. Okay. I've been on a lot of podcasting, and they see it. I post it. I'm not shy to talk about my past because my past is not my current state.
That's true.
And I'm not shy because I made a covenant with God to say, if you take me out of this situation, I will echo it so much so that it will go to the ends of the
world. Now that's yes, that's brings us to the whole idea of this whole show. Yeah. The light bearers show. So Christians are supposed to be light bearers, regardless of wherever they find themselves.
No, you need to shine. Yeah. You need to shine. You need to make sure. How can you light a candle and put it underneath a table or underneath a chair?
Shine.
You need to make sure that you hold it up.
Yes.
It is where we are today in the world that people are scared. So I was just thinking about this thing. Look at the LGBTQ community. So strong.
Very strong.
Honestly. Very bold.
Very strong.
I was in Cape Town doing a home tour. Yeah. And then in one of the bathrooms, I said, oh, can you imagine if you and your beautiful wife, and the director stopped me. It's like, this is wrong.
Why?
Because now it could be a man and a man. Yeah, and you're selling an $11 million property, so it can be anybody buying it.
Wow.
So that's when we need to rephrase that now. We don't say man and wife anymore. I tell you, it looked so normal for me in the moment, but when I was done, I came back and I was like, what just happened? Hey, was I just being crucified because I said man and wife? Cool. And just today, a friend of mine, Futures Kwame, sent me something on Instagram where someone is filling as school forms. Yeah. And you know, usually on the internet first, it was just you click gender,
yes,
it's male and female.
It happened to me too. I was trying to open, I think, a Gmail account.
Wow.
And they asked male, female, and like,
there's over 40 options in the video I saw.
I'm like, what do you want me to be?
Transsexual male, transsexual female, bisexual, identify as a dog, identify as a goat, identify as
to what end? Now that means we have a lot of work to do as Christians. We have to like stand out regardless.
Exactly.
Like, every point.
And my advice to any Christian watching is difficult. To people tell you that if you don't say this, if you don't let go of your standards, we will not work with you. But I'm telling you, my biggest contract this year was given to me by a very spiritual person. Wow. So God has his own people who would want to work with you if you keep by his standards. Don't go and lower your standards because you want to be someone else to appreciate you.
So like what you're saying, what you're saying now, so it's possible to be a Christian and do well in the secular world without being contaminated.
No, yes, you can do well without being contaminated. Yes, you can do very well.
Because I mean, now it looks like everybody has like watered down their standards as a Christian so that people can employ you, give you contracts and all of that.
It's difficult, but every time light enters a room, darkness has to bow. Exactly. Darkness will not survive when there's light. Exactly. So what you need to do is to charge yourself so much that your light will shine. There are people who will not work with me because they are of a different belief system, but they can't just get my experience and my expertise from another person, so they would have to work with me, even though they don't like my spiritual life or my religion. That's how much you need to build yourself so much that people cannot deny you. A lot of people are going through this thing because they themselves have not built themselves beyond that thing. So Apostle Joshua Selma says it's very right. He's like, you need to build your gifting and talent so much so that it serves kings. When your gift gets before kings, everybody wants to work with you.
Yeah, that's true.
So when they brought Joseph to come and interpret the dream, it might not preferably be what the king will need because of the situation with Potiphar's wife. Yeah. So Potiphar would not really even want to deal with him or recommend him or even see him around the king. Yeah. But the gift was so tangible that at the time, they had to take him out of prison. The same prisoner had to come back and serve the king. Wow. Yeah, that's how much of a light we need
have
to
be as Christians. Yes, interesting. So like, I want to ask you a very sensitive question relating to like your work. So do you believe in mentorship? And what would you advise for people who want to be mentored, especially in your area of...
I have done free mentorship. You see, our world needs to understand something. I just told you my story and how I volunteered myself and put myself out there. A lot of people are just seeing the COD today and would just want me to stop my work. Like even me, I just have one phone. It's for work, family, everything. And I don't work in Ghana alone. I'm currently in 8 African countries. Wow. They all come through this phone. Wow. Sometimes it's so tough and difficult for me. Sometimes I want to write certain things on my status. And I'm like, no, just calm down. People would understand when they get into that phase. I didn't really understand. Can you imagine I spent my money, over 100,000 CD in 2021 to organize a masterclass? I did every single thing for free. Until today, none of the people who came for the masterclass can come to me and show me results. And that's who I am. Wow. I will not keep giving you my time if I give you my first 1 hour and you don't come back to me with results. Yes. That's what my mentors do for me. Yes. I have great and mighty mentors. Can you imagine I only meet them once a year? Wow. Some of them, I only talk to them 30 minutes. Wow. And the conversation is, Desmond, what has happened? Where are you today? Please, we're on 3 projects. This is what we have done. Thank you. Okay, Desmond, then do this, do that, do this.
Result-oriented.
I am done with the mentor. I don't need to hold. A lot of people seeking mentorship are seeking entitlement. They want to own COD. They want me to pick their car at 12 midnight. They want me to hold their hand and walk them through the path. Why? It does not work like that. It's a mindset thing. Yeah. You need to train it. Yeah, that's true. I don't even want to see my mentor every time because when I see my mentor, it's result. Yeah. Sir, please, we've done 6 deals. We closed at this. This was our commission. This is the money we have had. Please, how do I multiply? How do I make sure that now in the quarter I'm able to do 12 deals instead of 6 deals? That's a conversation. So if you come to me, COD, I have apartments here, but I need buyer. That's the work I do. So, and I'm bigger than you. So do you think I can go to the apartment and get my own buyer and directly do my deal? Yeah. But if you come to me and say, I have a deal here, I have a buyer, but I'm confused about paperwork. Yeah. I'm confused about how to work it. Then I can help you to say, okay, I'll send you a paper or I'll guide you on what to do. So I have offered mentorship, but to be honest, I can't spend another 100,000 or I can't give my 1 hour again because I am also building my life and my company. So anybody who is ready for my kind of mentorship, it's results oriented. That's why I am in my life now. You need to come with me with, this is how far I have gone. Now I want to go to this. Can you help me? And I'll help you. And the next time you come again, I need to see that next level results.
Okay, interesting. So now with your level of exposure, we're about to round off. With your level of exposure, how do you combine your work and service to God? I mean, a lot of people now in our days find it really difficult because they feel like, okay, I can start from church. And that's like the narrative almost everywhere. I can start from church and then
get out of church
when I become big. But now that you are big and you are here, you are at this level, how do you combine work and church, serving God and all of those things together?
You know, is it the story of the 10 lepers? Yeah. When they met Jesus, they were all clean. It means they were healed. But how many of them came back to give thanks? It was one. Yeah. Came back to say thank you. And he was completely... We need to understand that this Christian journey, it's a journey. It's not a one-time thing.
No, it's not a one-time thing.
When God picks you, he starts to run you through the whole process. Yeah. So if you just see 10% of what God has for you, and then you begin to just feel like this is time for me to leave, this is time for me to run away, then you're doing yourself no good. You need to stay in there for the full, complete touch of God, and then for God to run you completely through the process. So for me, that's what's been keeping me going. Wow. When I look at myself, even though the people on the outside will say you're doing so well, I look at myself and I said, this is 1%. It's 1 over 100. I want God to take me to 10, to take me to 20. So how then do I stop worshiping and serving? When those are the things that brought me here, you know? So I see a lot of people to be ungrateful and to just get satisfied and content at a certain level. Yeah. But when you see a bigger picture and you know that this is just the beginning of greatness, you would always want to keep going. And that's what's been keeping me going till date.
Okay, so I have one very interesting question I want to ask you, and the question is, how do you deal with attention from the opposite sex? Now you are big, you're a fresh boy, you're a nice guy with the beards, with the things, the things we're seeing on social media, nice perfume and all of that.
It's not easy.
As a Christian, as a light bearer, how do you deal with the opposite sex?
So I'm going to give
you're
you,
not married.
I'm going to give you an answer from, I just watched the podcast. It's like a sitting Pastor Enoch of CUIC. So they asked him, his elders asked him the same question, that when he wasn't married and was still gathering the thousands of people, definitely people will be attracted to him. And he says that, yes, he can't control how the people get attracted to him or see him, but he can control the energies he allows around himself. I won't deny that a lot of people move to me or want to talk to me, but I have the sole responsibility of controlling. People, even funny enough, people can even come with business because they want to get your attention. So they can come all the way through business, and they just want to meet you for mentorship, for there's a property here they want to put you on. Can we go for lunch over here? Then you sit on the lunch and you realize that, hey, the conversation is... So you can't control that because, how do we say, sugar attracts ants, and it's the same thing. Greatness will attract the opposite sex around you, but you got to be careful to know. Currently, it's happening to this secular musician, Didi, happened to R. Kelly. You see, everything you're doing today can come up one day and play back to you. So you got to be careful. So that's what I do. I try as much as I can to build that guard around me and make sure that even if I'm having a meeting, I'm having it in a public place. To make sure that the vision is great. You won't let today's pleasure destroy what God has for you tomorrow. So you just need to have that system in place.
It's been a great time with you, but I want to ask you a final question. My final question is that who do you think is a light bearer as a Christian? Who should be a light bearer? What do you think a light bearer should do as a Christian?
I like that question. Today we are giving the light bearing job to pastors, but that's wrong. In every industry, people get amazed. Go on my Instagram. I write it. Go on my Instagram. I post my spiritual father. And I write things.
That's true.
So people will know that, hey, forget the luxury cars and the luxury properties and whatever. Without God. That's my little way of being a light bearer. You can be a makeup artist. Once you sit people down for 1 hour to paint their face, what are you saying to them? Because somebody went for makeup and ran mad. Somebody went to a hairdresser, they tapped the head and impacted something to it. So you a positive person. When you touch the hair, the wig, when people bring to you to revamp them, what do you say on the wigs? As you sit on TV, as you're becoming a high profile, as this podcast is going viral, and people now want to see PD and take pictures with you, when they come closer to you, what do you say to them? There's not one person who can say they've had an experience with me and I've not preached to them. I won't go and tell Matthew 6:33, Matthew 4 this, John 6, no. But I use my life.
That's true.
And that's what every light bearer should say. People say it's difficult to preach. I say, preach your life now.
Exactly.
You were here.
You don't need to sit there and create
notes.
No,
you used to be here. When you enter the church, you are here. We are not telling everybody that once you enter church, all your problem will be solved.
That's the misconception people have.
But once you enter church, I'm telling you, when I miss church, I get depressed. Because once you enter that church, it's like a century. Like you feel like you've taken your bath again. Any true Christian can tell you that. When you enter any church service, that God is there. When you walk out of the service, you just feel some relief in your heart. And that's that one thing about my church. So I want to invite everybody to the Holy Hill Chapel. I want to invite everybody to follow me on Instagram. ITZ_COD1. Let's get talking. Let's get interactive for my youth. I'm wrapping up already because I don't want you to ask me no
more questions.
I love the youth. I'm still a youth. And I think that the world belongs to us because we hold the future. Please, in all sincerity, please make sure that you look beyond the physical. That was my campaign message when I was in Accra Poly and contesting for SRC. I said, the limitation of a man's mind is a measure of his thought. You are where you are because of how you think. You are only limited. You want to go to Dubai, start seeing yourself in Dubai. Go and get a very good guy who knows how to do Photoshop, take a picture and let him plant your picture in Dubai and hang it in your room and start praying. Like I write a lot of things around me. When I wake up every morning, I do those daily confessions every single time. I'm great. The world belongs to me. Gates of nations are opening to me. Gates of this. That's how I move my business. So then I'll be there. Somebody calls me from Burundi. Somebody calls me from Tanzania. Somebody calls me from Kenya, from Rwanda. I recently just started my company in Côte d'Ivoire. The guy had his own company, said, I'm going to rebrand my whole office and put your COD construction engineering on my office, and I'll work for you. He was already a CEO. And now the company is in full. I can't even speak comment tu t'appelles je viens, but the company is doing well in Côte d'Ivoire already.
This has been very, very interesting. This has been a very,
so
very interesting.
It starts with mental capacity. Train your brain. Don't limit your mind. The world is not a global village because of the internet. If people can just dance and reach everybody, then you can also do what you're doing and reach everybody.
I mean, this has been very edifying, entertaining, interesting, and I mean, there's been a lot of lessons learned, and honestly, I'm really grateful that you took time out of your busy, guys. It's really busy. Out of your
I was actually late, but please, sorry to you and the production. It won't happen.
I hope you guys learned a lot of things, and one of the most important things he said that you can still be a Christian, working in the secular world, doing well, and staying without getting contaminated. Understand that as a light bearer, you are supposed to shine the light of the gospel, the light of Christ, not only through messages, but through your life, through everything that you do. And guys, thank you so much for joining. I want to tell you to follow us on our social media pages on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube page, The Light Bearer Show, on Instagram at The Light Bearer Show, and on Spotify at The Light Bearer Show. My name is PD, and with me is COD. Thank you so much for joining. Seeing you on the next episode. God bless you.